Today's news: serious legal violations during Fatulayev's appeal. Former parliamentary candidate charged with desertion. My son was beaten to death, says mother. Gaps in legislation pave way for corruption. State Statistics Committee releases annual report. 2010 saw tax collection increase. Outside of working hours, Baku Appeals Court Judge Mirpasha Huseynov issued a decision to reject imprisoned journalist Enullah Fatulayev's appeal against his pre-trial detention. The hearing was disrupted by serious legal violations. The judge rejected a motion by Fatulayev's new lawyer, Anar Gasimov, for more time to familiarize himself with the case materials. Nor did he fulfill a separate motion to request the other lawyer's presence. The judge committed an unprecedented violation of law by refusing to allow the journalist to finish his final speech. In 2007, Enullah Fatulayev, editor-in-chief of Realny Azerbaijan and Gundelek Azerbaijan newspapers, was sentenced to 8.5 years in jail for threatening terrorism, along with other charges. In July of this year, he was sentenced to an additional 2.5 years in prison by Garadag District Court under charges of drug possession. The European Court of Human Rights has issued a final and absolute ruling for his innocence and has demanded his immediate release. The Azerbaijani Supreme Court plenum only partially fulfilled this ruling.
Supporters of Harvard graduate Bakhtiar Hajiev gathered at the Institute for Reporters' Freedom and Safety for a press conference today. The academic, who wants to continue his studies outside the country, is fighting for conscription by the Azerbaijani government. He was arrested at the Georgian border when he tried to leave the country and will likely be tried for desertion. He is currently being held in Ganja, reported Rail Abbasov, a friend. There is a current investigation of the charges against Hajiev, and he is banned from leaving the city of Ganja until the matter has been resolved. He was arrested and detained in Ganja late last year on the same grounds for evading military service. Hajiev filed an appeal against the illegal detention during his first arrest, the hearing for which will take place on January 31st at the Sabail District Court. The court will be closed, even to Hajiev, who will be in the unlikely position of being excluded from his own hearing. Hajiev's lawyer, Namin Rahimli, said that his client's arrest was related to his political activities. Others at the press conference also believe that the arrest was politically motivated. Bakhtiar is completely within his rights to defer his military service until he has finished his education, she said. Human rights defender Vidadi Iskandarov supported this, adding that on this basis, Hajiev's arrest was illegal. I will go to the very end regarding my son Elvin Askarov's death, Askarov's mother, Rosa Rafieva, said at a press conference at the Institute for Reporters' Freedom and Safety today. Rafieva dismissed the reports in mass media which claimed Askarov's earlier conviction. She also rejects the Interior Ministry's version of the incident, which claimed the incident started on the night, January 12th. Rafieva says that her son Elvin met with his friend Mahmad Jafarov and his brother Anar, who were visiting Baku. They met in the yard of the Neon restaurant. They didn't enter the restaurant. They were just talking and laughing inside the yard. At this time, 3 police officers approached them and asked why they made all this noise, then requested identification cards from them. The police decided to detain Mahmad. However, Elvin and Anar interfered. Then a police employee insulted Elvin, and Elvin responded in kind. Therefore, the police began to beat them with bludgeons. 3 more police cars arrived. Elvin was beaten by 8 police employees. All this happened before the eyes of 2 witnesses, the Jafarov brothers, she said. According to Rafieva, Elvin had no knife, nor did he hit anyone. Elvin was beaten in the emergency care department number 6 as well, and it was only his dead body then taken to the police office number 24. He was taken to the hospital number 3 then, she noted. Human rights defender Vidadi Iskandarov said that the murder is clearly seen and that the mother of the victim is ready for the exhumation of her son's body with the intent to prove Elvin was brutally killed. A criminal case under Article 315 of the Criminal Code, resisting authorities, was launched against the Jafarov brothers. It is a pressure against them. They have already changed their preliminary testimony, Iskandarov said. The Interior Ministry claims that Elvin Askarov, 31, was earlier convicted and was a criminal authority. As for his death, the ministry says he fell and died while trying to escape from the police. A large number of gaps in the legislation allow the officials to bribe or do anything they want. Ali Mahmad Nuriev, the Constitutional Research Foundation head, said in the presentation of the draft law on anti-corruption examination of normative legal acts. Therefore, the laws and normative acts should be examined and gaps should be removed before they are adopted, stated Nuriev. The lawmaker, Baku State University Associate Professor Gulum Hussein Abayla, said that the Anti-Corruption Expertise Institute was established in the 1990s. It is more common for post-socialist and post-Soviet countries, as well as for the developing countries of Africa and Asia. According to Ali Baila, the method and duration for adopting certain decisions by officials must be clearly set out in the legislation with the intent to avoid bureaucracy. However, MP Gudrat Hassan Guliev had doubts regarding the document. He considers that the idea that the documents prepared by MPs are rejected by certain experts in the parliament completely wrong.
Müvafiq icra hakimiyyəti orqanı istisna müəyyən etmək səlahiyyəti verilirsə, deməli həmin orqan, həmin aktı, ya həmin normanı
The number of low-income families in Azerbaijan is falling. According to preliminary reports, the poverty rates decreased by 1.8% in the last year to 9.1%, said Arif Aliyev, the State Statistics Committee chairman. Inflation was 5.7% last year. In 2010, the price of food products increased by 7.2%, non-food products by 2.3%, and customs duties by 4.3%. In 2010, the gross domestic product was 41 billion. The volume of GDP per capita increased by 3.7% to 4,653 AZN. Industrial production totaled approximately 27.4 billion AZN. He also said that cargo transportation had increased by 3.1%, information services and communication services by 29.7%, and retail trade turnover by 9%. According to Valiev, last year's state budget was 11.4 billion AZN, with a deficit of 363.5 million. State budget revenue increased by 10.4% and expenditures by 12%. On the demographics, Valiev put the population at 9,111,000. 165.6 thousand of them were born in 2010, which means that the birth rate was the highest it has been for 16 years. The Ministry of Tax transferred 4.3 billion AZN to the state budget last year, a 4.4% increase in 2009, reported Deputy Tax Minister Sabir Mahmedkhanov at today's press conference. The private sector's share in this is 2.7 billion AZN, or 63.3%. The influx from the private sector increased by 13.6%. The figures show that tax evasion is on the increase, said Mahmedkhanov. According to him, the non-oil and gas sector contributed 2.3 billion AZN to the state budget. He added that the Azerbaijan International Operation Company paid 741 million AZN in benefit taxes, more than the forecasted 650 million AZN.